is this going to melt down into a situation where several members are impacted?
I don't really think so. I think that, what Bowman did, pulling the fire alarm in a Capitol or a House office building, is really not on the same par with what Santos has been accused of doing. The big thing that we know now is that, this is the first expulsion vote since the ethics report came out. And that ethics report was pretty damning, had a lot of issues that it exposed with Santos in terms of him using campaign funds for fraudulent purposes, to buy luxury goods, to buy all sorts of things that were, inappropriate. Yeah. And so I think that, this is going to be a different type of vote, and it's going to be a lot harder for some Republicans to oppose his expulsion this time around.
Yeah, inappropriate when you think about Botox, when you think about OnlyFans, that website. I alluded to this earlier, but Jake Sherman says that Steve Scalise is voting against expelling him. Is that a sign from leadership that potentially he's going to be able to beat this bullet?
So there's a couple things to consider there. First of all, leadership has said they're not whipping this vote. So while that does send a signal where leadership stands, they're not going to be telling members how to vote on this. And so they're leaving it up to the individual members to make their own determinations. The other thing to consider is that, the margin is very slim in the House right now for the Republicans. And this is a district that isn't necessarily going to elect a Republican again. And when there's if he does get expelled or does resign, there's an opening, there would be a special election within 90 days. And with the makeup, the demographics of the district, there's no guarantee that they would elect a Republican again.
Right, it's lean Democrat.
It leans Democrat. And so I think that, that's another thing that leadership at their level kind of have to consider, is that they might end up with an even slimmer margin in the House, which is obviously from a leadership perspective not something that they would want. There's also the concern about precedent, because in the past, Santos would be the sixth member to be expelled from the House, so it's very uncommon. No one's been expelled since Jim Traficant in 21 years ago, when George Santos, as a matter of fact, was like 14 years old. And so, it's
allegedly at Horace Mann.
Exactly. It's rarely done. And this would be the first time where someone was expelled before they were convicted of a crime. And so it would be setting a new precedent that I think, again, from the leadership perspective, is a bit troubling.
Yeah, beam me up, Kate. I'll tell you, this is all happening at the same time as an important debate gets underway here. There is business being done other than expelling members of Congress, a debate over funding for Israel and Ukraine that could hinge on a border security deal, something we've talked about quite a bit here this week, and that story keeps on moving. We discussed this with Senator Bill Hagerty, Republican, yesterday here on Balance of Power. Here's his view.
It's very difficult to justify to American taxpayers that we won't even protect our own sovereignty, yet we want to take American taxpayer funds and use it to protect the sovereignty and people of another nation. So we need to address this. I think Republicans are making it clear we've had it. We have an emergency and a crisis at our southern border, and it must be addressed.
So, Nick Wadhams, it really becomes a question of timing here and exactly how many days lawmakers have to get this done, whether they can agree on disparate measures that could end up sending money to, first of all, Israel. Let's talk about that. How much time do we have here? We heard from John Kirby earlier today suggesting that it might be the rest of the year, say through the end of December, before Israel needs more help. Are you hearing that same thing from national security circles?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think the need from Israel, frankly, is a little less pressing than it is from Ukraine. There is absolutely no concern about the constancy of U.S. support for Israel. I don't think you're going to really see there be any trouble for the U.S. to be able to continue to support Israel, given that it is such a bipartisan issue. The Israeli needs are much more specialized, and frankly, there isn't as much of a demand for those needs elsewhere. So Israel is not really, I think, the problem, despite what the administration says. The real concern is Ukraine, obviously artillery shells and things like that, but then more broadly, what signal it sends to Ukraine and to U.S. allies that the U.S. is not able to get this money sorted for Ukraine, and whether that's going to leave an opening, psychological, militarily, or otherwise, for Vladimir Putin.
When it comes to Israel, we have the Secretary of State making his third visit to the region, to Israel specifically, since Hamas's attack on Israel. And his language was much tougher this time around. He said that part of this discussions, they discussed that what they saw in northern Gaza, quote, not be repeated in the south.
Right. I mean, that was quite extraordinary, actually, because you basically had Blinken coming before the press, and he's essentially saying that he read the Riot Act to Israel's war cabinet. I mean, pretty extraordinary stuff. I mean, on his first trip, it was very much about we stand with Israel. Israel has the right to defend itself. This time he's saying, yes, we stand with you. You have the right to defend it yourself, but you have to do it in accordance with international law. And what we saw up in the north, as you resume this campaign, you cannot do that again. So it was a real shift in tone. Obviously, we haven't seen how Israel is going to respond to that. Blinken did say he got assurances from the war cabinet that they would do things differently.
It's pretty remarkable, Nick, when you consider the statement from Benjamin Netanyahu, quote, "There is no situation in which we do not go back to fighting until the end." Pretty definitive. We know that Hamas has said that October 7th was a dress rehearsal. How do you control that kind of fighting?
Right. I mean, well, that's the big question. I think that's exactly what Secretary Blinken is trying to do now. And it's now clear, looking back at what was one of the key objectives of this pause. So not only was it to get the hostages out, but it was, I think, a pressure point by the U.S. to basically say, OK, well, what happens now? You know, you need to assess and figure out what you're going to do next. We
also heard today from National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby, Admiral Kirby, discussing this truce between Israel and Hamas. Take a listen.
The humanitarian pause now over the first 6 days has seen more than 100 hostages released and returned to their families, and a significant surge in humanitarian assistance into Gaza, several hundred trucks over the last week, which is important. Again, we all recognize more needs to be done, more needs to get in, but we shouldn't discount the incredible work that has been done on the ground.
This is so important for the administration. It's not just the hostages coming out, but it's humanitarian aid going into Gaza. Politically, they are facing a ton of criticism when you look at the death toll of these Palestinians in Gaza.
Yeah, and this is a particularly a potential problem for Biden, given the demographics of it. You know, he's going to be relying heavily in his reelection bid next year on support from young voters. And if you look at poll after poll, you can see that, you know, there's a lot of concern among young voters about, you know, the humanitarian situation in Gaza. And then that's particularly acute where that criticism of Biden and his, you know, stance with Israel is coming from that demographic, which is one that he really needs to be enthusiastic and to come out next year. And so that's, I'm certain, something that the White House, you know, is attuned to, and perhaps part of why we're seeing what Nick talked about, which is a little bit of a toughening in the stance and the rhetoric around how the war proceeds going forward.